Hey, this is Ryan of Happy Healthy Vegan. So big shout out to my moderator Peter for suggesting that I check out and respond to yet another Paul Saladino video. Peter, why do you know so much about Paul Saladino for? It's like, don't give him any more clicks. You'll see here, this is just complete nonsense. I know Peter means well. He wants me to take a look at this crap and respond to it and call it out for the crap it is. So anyway, yeah, Peter said in this video, Paul was saying vegans are self-righteous or something like that. So I was expecting it to be one kind of video, but as soon as I started watching it, it's completely obvious Paul's just using these horribly cherry-picked examples of how vegans kill more animals than people who have animals kill for them need. See, it doesn't make any sense, but anyway, let's hear him out.
Isn't it true though, and you are the perfect person to ask this, is that someone told me this, so this could be wrong, that veganism and plants is actually hurting animals more. Isn't there something? Can you explain that?
Yeah. So we talked about this a little bit earlier. So when someone makes this intentional choice to be vegan or vegetarian, great first step.
How effing condescending can a person be with a smile on their face like Paul had there? Veganism is a good first step. A first step to what? It's the first and the last step if you are against animal cruelty and exploitation.
We can go back to the health issue, but let's just put the health issue aside. Let's talk about environmental issues or ethical issues.
Yeah, Paul, let's talk about the ethical issues. I can't wait to get into this with you, but you're saying let's just put aside the health issues? Like, what health issues? You know that a well-planned vegan diet is recommended by health organizations from around the world, people who understand and conduct and review and publish science on the subject matter and know way more than you do from your limited biased experience. And I'm still waiting for these mystical, magical health issues to start taking me down. You are aware I'm going to be 58 in a few months. I've been vegan for well over 14 years and I'm still doing good. Look at my Blood Lab playlist if you don't believe me.
I think a really laudable thing that vegans and vegetarians may believe is that they don't want to cause excess suffering in the world. Great.
I'm always humored when a non-vegan, or even worse, an anti-vegan like Saladino comes up with their own custom definition of what veganism is. What was that again?
They don't want to cause excess suffering in the world. Great.
What, do you have to reduce all suffering in the world? You make it sound like we're like Buddhists, like we're Gandhi or the Dalai Lama or something like that. No, it's really simple. I don't understand what's so hard to understand. Veganism is a stance against animal cruelty and exploitation.
What we understand as humans, and this is a very interesting thing for most of us that didn't grow up in the woods.
Let me pause you here. I can't imagine what wisdom can only be obtained by growing up in the woods.
Is that in order for something to live, something else must die. This is just the way life works. And it's kind of a hard thing that we wrestle with as kids.
Okay, yeah, but why do you have to grow up in the woods to understand that in order to live, things need to die?
I don't want to hurt anything, but this is the way of life, right?
I'm still not clear why you have to grow up in the woods to understand that life eats other living things, but not all living things have sentience. Did you learn that living out in the woods, Paul?
There's an interesting woman named Leah Keith who was a previous vegan. She became a meat eater, and she tells this story of having a garden. And she wanted to be a vegan, and she had this garden, but she realized that to have a garden, she had to kill the slugs because the slugs were eating her lettuce, and she had to put in manure or animal products to get the plants to grow well. And so she realized, look, manure came from an animal that didn't have to be killed, but the bones and the calcium, that had to come from an animal. And so there's a cycle of life and death, and you're going to kill slugs.
Sounds like some kind of appeal to futility fallacy, aka the nirvana fallacy. Like if the solution to the problem of animals being raised for slaughter, if our solution is to eat plants, but some slugs might get killed, you find that to be a valid reason. Say, hey, just let's screw this whole idea of not having animals raised into slaughter for me. And because slugs, though, if I'm killing some slugs, I might as well just eat cows and pigs and chickens. And of course, he had to use this very cherry-picked story of hers there, very anti-vegan slant on how gardening works. I mean, I know many others have had success in their gardens without ever having used any animal product inputs. And we'll get more on that in a second.
How do you grow plants? How is kale grown or spinach grown? It's grown in a field, probably in the Central Valley of California or somewhere, that was at one time trees. And at one time there were voles and, mice or, rabbits living there with snakes and beetles and bugs and birds in those trees. And so in order to get to that land to be able to grow plants, you have to cut all that stuff down. Then you have to till the soil.
Oh my God, the hypocrisy of Saladino is just completely off the charts. So in order to have fields that produce plants, the kale, grown in the Central Valley of California, it's horrible because they had to cut down trees and the animals that were once living there have been displaced. So it's horrible. It's a horrible activity. They shouldn't be growing kale in the Central Valley of California. But I guess it's okay to do this horrific atrocity in the Central Valley of California.
The largest cow raising operation on the west coast of the United States sits right next to Interstate 5. Thousands of people drive right by the facility every day. They smell the foul air long before they reach the 800-acre feedlot, where over 100,000 cows are confined at a time. They see the animals standing together in pens of dirt and manure.
Yeah, I'm sure they didn't have to cut down any trees, displace any animals to have that horrific feedlot. And I've driven past that many a time, and the narrator's completely right. You know you're getting near to that horrific place because you can literally smell it from like 10 miles away. I mean, it is not subtle. It is a foul stench that I never want to smell again for the rest of my life. And I feel sorry for all the people that live around there. And I feel even more sorry for all the animals that experience so much suffering there.
The soil's a really interesting ecosystem, like our life science in the 8th grade. There's all sorts of things in the soil. There's all sorts of bacteria and fungi that are working together. There's earthworms. And when you till the soil, you release all the carbon dioxide in the soil. It just goes up into the atmosphere. So you're emptying the soil or the topsoil of the carbon dioxide. You're sort of destroying the soil. One way to kill ground and make it very bad for planting in your garden at your house or to grow plants is to till the soil. So,
okay, I don't have a PhD in agricultural sciences to respond to what he's saying there, all the science. Let's just assume it to be true. It sounds fairly plausible. So with that out of the way, what he's describing there is not a vegan problem. I mean, all people, unless you're carnivore, eat plants, and animals, you know, livestock eat more plants than humans do. So what you're describing there, don't blame it on, it's not a vegan thing. It's the practice of agriculture is flawed. And us vegans are trying to do our best in this flawed system. If you want to change this horrific problem, I agree with you on this one, but it's not incumbent upon the vegans to do that.
at this point, you've leveled the trees. So you've killed trees, you've displaced birds, potentially killed rabbits and voles and anything else living in the soil. When you're tilling, you're killing the things in the soil.
Not to mention then harming the things that eat those things.
Exactly. So think about the thousands, the tens of thousands of lives that are lost.
Billions of insects get murdered.
In the creation of a field to grow plants.
And the same environmental devastation and loss of animal and habitat life applies equally, if not more so, for this monstrosity that you seem to bless.
And then you might have to put nitrogen fertilizer back in the soil, because without animal input into soil, you will quickly deplete the nutrients required to grow those plants.
So if I understand you correctly, Paul, here, you're saying it's absolutely necessary to use animal fertilizers in order to grow food. Well, on my small scale gardens that I've done over the years, like I said, I've never had to do that. Is this some kind of truth that all farmers know?
So this has been happening for generations. And if you talk to any farmer...
All right. So is it some kind of appeal to farmer fallacy? It's some kind of appeal to authority fallacy, appeal to some imaginary hypothetical farmer that Paul asserts that he or she will say you have to use animal products in order to have a successful plant growing farm. Paul is just completely 100% wrong. There is veganic farming, which seeks to de-link plant farming from animal farming and produce plant-based food in a sustainable manner without exploitation of animals. And this is not from some kind of crazy vegan activist resource. It's Eastern Oregon University. But Paul says you can ask any farmer. I guess I could link this video to Paul of a vegan farmer on his veganic farm. This isn't the first time I've shown Paul to just completely fall flat on his face. He stupidly predicted last year.
I challenge you to find a single athlete in this year's Olympics who will win a medal who is vegan.
And lo and behold, vegans won medals in both team sports and even a gold medal in an individual sport. So take that, carnivore MD, and your stupid prediction.
So there's a couple of ways that cows can be raised if we talk about cows. And the best way is the blueprint of white oak pastures and other farms that are regenerative doing it that way. And they're raising the cows on the land. They're rotating fields. They're only eating grass from the day they're born. I mean, I guess they're eating milk from their mothers, but grass and milk, what they're supposed to eat. And then when they're harvested, when they're killed, they're done in a very humane fashion. There are ways that cattle ranchers do this that are kinder, quote unquote, to the cattle. And that may sound crazy, but
I mean, yeah, that does sound crazy. There is no ethical way to kill a living, sentient being who does not wish to die, has feelings, emotions, and does not have the desire. I'm pretty damn sure, I can't read the cow's mind, but I'm pretty sure the cow does not want to become your next meal. So don't give me this bullshit. Like, I'm going to kill it all ethically and kindly. I mean, that's just bullshit. It's like saying there's a kind, ethical way to kill a human who has thoughts, feelings, and emotions and is expressing that he or she does not want to die. There's, bottom line, no ethical, kind way to kill a sentient being who doesn't wish to die.
it sounds crazy and we don't want to believe it, but we have to go back to what you said. There's always death to support life.
Well, yes, of course that's true. We're biological entities. We don't eat rocks or something like that. We're not breatharians. We eat things that were also alive, but you don't have to eat things that had sentience. Do you understand this, Paul? Yes, there has to be some kind of death in order for there to be life, but I'd rather have the death of a piece of kale or a banana or some beans, rice, potatoes, rather than have an animal be bred into exploitation intentionally by an animal producer company, whatever, and have the animal live a life completely confined in exploitation and only to be led to slaughter. I mean, would you rather have that scenario or just eat plants? I don't understand what the confusion is. If you really are concerned about this whole circle of life thing, if you have compassion for other sentient beings other than yourself, there is absolutely, it's a no-brainer. Eat the freaking plants. Oh, but I forgot why. In order to plant fields of plants, you have to cut down all the trees that were there and all the animals that were there get kicked out and you have to till the soil. It's so bad for the environment. I forgot. And for any Saladino stans that might be watching, yes, I know he advocates for grass-fed beef and regenerative cattle and all this stuff, but watch my video from a few years ago where we calculated how much land mass you would need to feed the entire world on grass-fed beef. And it's just a bullshit idea that only works for a small elite privileged percentage of the population, because you would need at least 3 planet Earths to pull that off. Once again, I have to ask, why do I have to keep responding to such a bullshit like this week after week? Why do people like Paul feel the need that in order for them to get ahead with their social media grift, they have to put down vegans and veganism by spreading lies and misinformation? It's just so wrong. That's completely unethical. So if they have no ethical problems with that, I'm sure they're fine with having animals killed for them. They don't see any ethical problem with that. So anyway, if you think everything I said is wrong, please let me know. Leave a comment down below, or better yet, come to my live stream. It's Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Be civil and we can have a conversation. And also be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and have that notification bell hit so you'll get notified of all our content. So until next time, guys, remember, doesn't suck being vegan.